Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV and the Her Story podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Faith Dow. I'm a Gen Xer. I currently reside on the East Coast of the United States. I am pivoting right now, as many people are post-COVID. So I have experience in marketing, and I've done a lot of advocacy work. I had an online forum for women that was one of the pioneering blogs where we discuss lifestyle strategies for women and ways of making allyship. And now I really just want to focus on things that matter, building close relationships. But I really want to focus on doing a lot of fun things and working on professional and personal imaging and getting back into things like fashion and cooking, like well balanced meals, but you could say gourmet meals as well, being a foodie. So really good wines, great meals, learning to improve culinary skills if necessary. Taking care of one's health is very important. And just to have those pivotal discussions, but because there is so much online contention, that I think it's just important to make sure that we as individuals learn about ourselves and who we truly are, and that we embrace being women. And I would say in setting boundaries around that and defending that where necessary, and just having a great life. So it isn't necessarily about feeling polarized by a lot of external things that are not necessarily within our control, but to work on the things that we can control. And hopefully getting back into that building relationships, that we need people. We need good, functional, happy, joyful relationships, and just really want to build on that and protecting the agency of girls.
Well, it sounds like you are on quite a mission in terms of the direction that your life is going now. Why are you so passionate around young girls and making sure that they get empowered at an early age?
Because, and this applies to all children, but in particular girls, are bombarded with so many sexual images from pornography that has infiltrated the society to the point where people don't even realize that a lot of these things weren't here at this level. The internet has made a lot of things far more accessible, and people being able to reach children, advertising, and content that is not monitored. And a lot of girls don't feel safe but are not necessarily able to articulate it with an adult's knowledge. So they may consider embracing other ideologies or other ways of thinking that will actually cause more harm, because they don't realize that it's not normal to feel the need to be overtly sexual at such a young age, or that they feel, and yeah, hate to use the word patriarchy, because patriarchy can be very beneficial, but in terms of things that are toxic and harmful, that are abusive and things like that, they're internalizing a lot of that. And because these things are not necessarily being articulated well enough for people to understand ways of combating that, then they are turning to other things, other agendas that are very well financed and well executed, and it's going to cause more harm for future generations.
Now, what should parents be doing in terms of protecting their children against the things that go on social media? It's
Well, I'm
something
not
we can't really
I'm
run
not a
away from.
psychologist. Yeah. I'm not a psychologist, so bear all of that in mind. But I think one of the most harmful things is unfettered internet access for children. They should not have it. Children don't need cell phones at the level that they have them now. I mean, I think an emergency phone is fine, but you can get something very simple that has, you program a few phone numbers in it. But being able to just pull up any website and look at it, no, absolutely not. Children's brains are still developing. They don't understand what they're seeing, and you can corrupt people very easily. I mean, you can corrupt adults very easily. Within the US, the average reading rate is at a 6th grade level here. So, for the majority. So, we have, even though the US is still considered a world superpower right now, and there are many benefits and many people, want to live here. But there are other factors involved with the dumbing down of a lot of things. And yeah, I don't want to get into overly political conversation, but there are a lot of factors in where people are not educated enough, just in terms of basic education, but absolutely are not critical thinkers. People are very easily swayed by messaging that can cause an emotional response that doesn't necessarily make any logical sense, that appeals to lower, you could say lower vibration, more negative things. So I would always say parents really need to communicate with their children, but that's, always a conundrum that happens. But there needs to be something, because right now we have situations where schools are making decisions for children without informing their parents about things. And that is an overreach. And
Mm.
so, you could be the most actively involved parent in your child's life and think everything's great, and then something else could be going on, or they could be being groomed, or something could be going on, and then you would be shocked. They might be shocked and horrified to find out, that they weren't able to protect their daughters the way that they wanted to. And then, of course, there are children, who are in the foster care system and marginalized residential areas or economic situations. And, what about our daughters? We have to really care about our children, and boys as well, because
It's happening to boys as well. You're right.
boys should be able to have full emotional expression and be able to articulate that, to not objectify, girls in a certain way. And everyone should feel empowered to find their talents, and the ways that they can contribute to society that makes them fulfilled. And because a lot of adults don't have that right now either, but it's definitely something that we need to think about. I highly recommend people, whether you're creatively oriented or not, is Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. Take yourself on an artist date once a week where it's just you. You're doing something to edify yourself, to learn about
Yes.
something. And I think it adds to personal development. And also, I think having alone time is always a good thing. But some people still have to learn how to feel comfortable being alone. In fact, so
Yes.
you have to be comfortable in your own skin. So those are all things that are very important.
I love that. Now, you're at a crossroads, as you said, transitioning and pivoting. Which direction is your life going? Your career? What spurred that decision?
I guess I don't know where it's going right now, to be honest. I'm trying to find my way. And the ways that may have worked before don't work anymore. Personally, I feel that it's a little more difficult to find allies in certain aspects. I mean, we all need those relationships nurturing that are mutually respectful and all of that. But, sometimes you need a connection with somebody who has, some authority, has a great Rolodex, whatever, Rolodex for old school people, who knows people who know people, who can help you out. Say if you have a business idea, they can point you in the right direction or maybe give you funding or, put you on to someone else, or someone might be able to give you good life advice, or as you could say, a hookup, a help out, any of those things. But maybe you just need a sounding board sometimes people have ideas for things that they want to do, they don't know how to do them, and sometimes we need some encouragement versus a naysayer, or someone can't imagine, someone else's dream being so big and they would think, oh, that's impossible. Don't want to be surrounded by people who think that the things you want and who you are is impossible. You want to be encouraged to try, to
I
succeed,
love that.
and to keep trying.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you've worked extensively in the social media
Mm-hmm.
arena, helping with social media strategies and
Mm-hmm.
campaigns.
Yes.
How has the use of social media benefited you,
Mm-hmm.
and how can other people tap into the good side of what social media can do? Because there is a good and a bad side, right?
As with everything, pros and cons for everything. So yeah, I was definitely an early adapter. I was like an early, Twitter follower. I will always call it Twitter. I don't care about new names. Like I will always call the other one Facebook. There's that joke. If my mama calls it that, that's what I'm gonna call it. So social media at its core is great for connecting people who live in different geographical areas, people who may have similar philosophies about things. And, maybe in your town, your block, or whatever, you may not find someone that you have a certain connection level with, but you might be able to find someone through the world wide web versus, your 10-mile radius of where you're physically located. So that's wonderful. So, social media has helped spawn successful advocacy movements. It has raised awareness. People have been able to raise money. In terms of brands have been able to connect with people who want to have their experiences, or to buy a product or to learn about a product. And these things are all very valuable. The flip side of that is, the cesspool aspect of trolls, and there are paid troll farms and disinformation agents and things like that. So fact checking is as important as ever. Industries have been decimated recently, in the past decade. And it's not because of the internet. I'm thinking of publishing and journalism and other things. That's just because of too many mergers and acquisitions and greed and corporations being people, but not paying taxes and things like that. So that's a global we have a global issue going on right now with a handful of people wanting to control the world, not pay people, not compensate them, and to spread certain agendas and ideologies that are not beneficial, but that make people easier to control so they can get, the things that they want done, but it's not beneficial for mom and pop and and their offspring and future generations. So I guess I would say try to find a way to be very ruthless so you can try to get ahead. So you're not trampled over, but everyone doesn't operate like that and everyone doesn't have the ability to do that. So uh, so we have to find a way. And I would, prefer it be peaceful, but we still have to try to come up with cunning ways of getting the things that we need done so that our lives still have value.
Mm. So where do you see the future of social media going, do you think?
Honestly, I have no idea. And I would say neither do other people. Well, AI, obviously, the push for AI. So, on one hand, you can train in machine learning and all of that. It could be a useful tool to help people. And actually, an adjacent example would be adaptive services. So, some of those early um, Apple products, for example, the touch screen and things like that. That was for people with different abilities. People who are vision impaired, people with mobility impairments, people who are blind, who are deaf, etc. So we need that part. What is and is obviously always the issue is who's programming the machines and what inherent biases are they putting into what they're doing, and will there be any corrective measures for mistakes, like with facial recognition technology? So we know that that technology tends to not pick up black people or anyone who's very melanated well. But that then it goes back to, well, who was working on it? Not the people who skin shades are being, misread by the machines. So, and then I mean, we can make a little joke about the Matrix, but Matrix and Terminator, but a lot of those issues that were brought, that were themes in those movies, are very real potential problems that we want to try to avoid happening. Now, do I think machines would take over and make us batteries? No. But, there's a lot of gray area in between all of that, in terms of law enforcement, and there could be misuses for a lot of those things, or they could be doing it intentionally. So we really want to be careful. So AI can help, but even right now with the writers and the actors strike, they have an issue with studios doing scans of their bodies and trying to manipulate their voice and do these recreations without their permission, without compensating them for it. So that is definitely something that should be, I hate to use the word regulated because then that gets into a whole government bureaucracy issue. There has to be
Mm.
ethics involved. And then you have to ask, well, who's going to be ethical when people are focused on this not for altruism but for profit? So it could become a vicious cycle there. And there has to be thought leadership and a variety of people involved in trying to tackle this. It's not a simple answer, but it's definitely something that requires a lot of nuance and a lot of attention.
Yeah, it's actually quite scary to see the direction that this is all taking.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is great when it works for us, but there is, like you say, a possibility for a lot of abuse
Mm-hmm.
that could be to the detriment of all of us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hope that there will be some kind of checks and balances, and like you said, some kind of restriction so it doesn't get out of control.
I think that has to be the will of people being able to focus on these things to address that. But then also, if people are constantly in a state of flux and not having their basic needs met, you know, basic things, not being able to have a place to live, not having food, then people will be spending all their time scrambling, trying to put a morsel in their mouth, and then meanwhile, everyone's gonna be run over by these higher level plans of things. So, that's another argument where people think that politicians are bought and paid for because of campaign financing, and yeah, CEOs right now making hundreds of millions of dollars per year, but wanting to pay the content creators pennies,
Mm.
and shareholders wanting a huge return due to all of these mergers and acquisitions. And then they gut companies entirely for parts to cash out. And
So, what
so,
are your parting thoughts for us?
mhm.
Let's end our interview on a positive note, hopefully.
There. Really enjoy life. So one of the things that I like to do is I've been rewatching some of my favorite series. Like there's this action show that came out like 25 years ago called Love Nikita that was a cult favorite, and I rewatched the entire series again, and it holds up so well. Speaking of government conspiracies, a spy agency that recruits convicted criminals and fakes their death, and then you fight terrorism, or you have to do what they say or you die. Uh, but then two of the main characters, fall in love, and they have to navigate the relationship and then try to survive these deadly missions that they're on, and general life questions about how do you have any type of ethics in a corrupt situation. So actually, I think it's a great life analysis. How do you survive? Well, in that series, Nikita wound up running section, so it took over. So, and Michael was able to leave to take care of his son that he sired.
Oh, I love it. I
He
love
covered
it.
her job on, for the agency. So, yeah, it was. People that know the show and love the show will totally get it. We're like, yeah, Nikita and Michael. But yeah, it's interesting. So I like to be able to create like really great stories. So that's one thing I would love to do. And I think part of that would be, oh, if I had X amount of money, I could buy the rights to this, that, and the other thing, and produce a show and put it on the internet, and people, could have a subscription service and or something similar, or could buy it, and people could pull resources. Like we can get a lot of things done, more things done now due to technology than ever. And so it's very,
Yes.
and I would love it if more of us would come together to do things like that.
Oh, I love it. What a beautiful way to end our segment. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have met you. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thanks again, Faith.
Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.